Hello, writers. I thought I would try something a little bit different today as we are looking through our Writing Down the Bones book. Um, as we began our New Jersey Writing Institute, you'll remember that we began a lot of our work with pre-writing. And that pre-writing, we generated so many ideas that we could work with. We had an idea wallet that we could put things in. And we just had page after page after page of things that could give us elements of things that we could write about and ways that we could go back to know that we had lots of ideas to consider. So I think one of the things that is important about this is if you can hear me. So that is a really neat place where the ideas began. But I think that this analogy here fits so well because a lot of times what we have to do with our ideas is we've got to give them a chance to grow and to sit, to step away from that writing before it can turn into something else. So let me read to you and let's think about this for a little bit. It's called composting. It takes a while for our experience to sift through our consciousness. For instance, it is hard to write about being in love in the midst of a mad love affair. We have no perspective. All we can say is, I'm madly in love, over and over again. It's also hard to write about a city we've just moved to. It's not yet in our body. We don't know about our new home, even if we can drive to the drugstore without getting lost. We have not lived through 3 winters there or seen the ducks leave in the fall and return to the lakes in the spring. Hemingway wrote about Michigan while he was sitting in a cafe in Paris. Maybe away from Paris, I could write about Paris, as in Paris I could write about Michigan. I did not know it was too early for that because I did not know Paris well enough. I think this is really important for our kids because we ask them to begin and begin and begin these new pieces of text that have they had enough time to just let that writing sit or become enriched. I think too that it takes a lot of cognitive energy to compose, honestly. And if we use all of that up by composing and thinking of ideas to say, then what are the kids going to have left cognitively to return to the work, to do the revision, to pull out the pieces, to reshape it into something different? And I think considering the beginning work we did with our drafts as a compost bin might be interesting. Our senses by themselves are dumb. They take in experience, but they need the richness of sifting for a while through our consciousness and through our whole bodies. I call this composting. Our bodies are garbage heaps. We collect experience, and from the decomposition of the thrown out eggshells, spinach leaves, coffee grinds, and old steak bones of our minds come nitrogen, heat, and very fertile soil. Out of this fertile soil bloom our poems and stories. But this does not come all at once. It takes time. Continue to turn over and over the organic details of your life until some of them fall through the garbage of discursive thoughts to the solid ground of black soil. And by this time, you've spent a few days away from the Writing Institute and you've begun some other things. So perhaps it's time to turn over the leaves inside of your compost bin of your writer's notebook to sift through there and see what else is lurking in the black soil of your writing. When I have students who have written many pages and read them in class, and their writing is not all necessarily good, but I see that they're exploring their minds for material, I'm glad. And I too am glad whenever my students have looked through and returned to their pre-writing strategies or to their blueprint or to their quick list to see what else it is that they could begin to write about. I know these people will continue and are not just obsessed with hot writing, but are in the process of practice. They are raking their minds and taking their shallow thinking and turning it over. If we continue to work with this raw matter, it will draw us deeper and deeper into ourselves, but not in a neurotic way. We will begin to see the rich garden we have inside of us and use that for writing, which I love that about how it connects to our reflexive nature, about how we begin with what is inside of us that begins to pour out into that extensive nature of our writing. Often I will stab many times at something I want to say. For instance, you can look at my notebooks from August through December 1983 and see that I attempted several times a month to write about my father dying. I was exploring and composting the material. Then suddenly, I can't say how, in December I sat transfixed at the Croissant Express in Minneapolis after a long poem about that subject poured out of me. All the disparate things I had to say were suddenly fused with energy and unity. A bright red tulip shot out of the compost. Katagiri Roshi said, "Your little will can't do anything. It takes great determination. Great determination doesn't mean you are just making an effort. It means the whole universe is behind you and with you, the birds, the trees, the sky, the moon, and 10 directions. Suddenly, after much composting, you are in alignment with the stars, or the moment, or the dining room chandelier above your head, and your body opens up and speaks." And I think we'll find that a lot of times our students, part of what they're doing is finding the fluency and the ability to get those words out in a way that's meaningful to them, that begins to recombine in a way cognitively that changes their writing process as well as the products they're able to produce. Understanding this process cultivates patience and produces less anxiety. Well, and I really hammered in on this in my notes because I think so many of us, even coming into an institute for writing, we bring in our past experiences and we're anxious about writing. We're anxious about sharing it with others. We're anxious about what is it? What does it need to be? Is it going to be good enough? Is it what the teacher is wanting? We aren't running everything, not even in the writing we do. At the same time, we must keep practicing. It is not an exercise excuse not to write and sit on the couch eating bonbons. We must continue to work the compost pile, enriching it and making it fertile so that something beautiful may bloom, and so that our writing muscles are in good shape to ride the universe when it moves through us. The understanding also helps us accept someone else's success and not to be too greedy. It is simply that person's time. Ours will come in this lifetime or the next, no matter. Continue to practice. And so as you re-enter your work or the writing that you are doing and thinking about for this course, continue to add to your compost pile. Continue to put your experiences and the things that you think you're going to discard, allow it to be that, and then return to it, leaf through it, ruffle through your ideas once more to see what's becoming of that and what's becoming of you and your writing process. Happy writing.